If you've been considering getting help doing your taxes this year, please get in touch with Molly Morris at M3 Virtual Accounting. Tax season is only a few months away. Don't wait until the last second when nobody is going to be able to get you in or you're going to have to file for an extension. Molly will help you, and she can help you monthly for a really reasonable fee so that you don't have to rush next year. Get in touch with her at m3virtualaccounting.com.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, A Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host switcheroo, the rereading, Return to Westeros, HBO spoiler edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for your AirPods. Put those AirPods somewhere safe. Don't let them go into the washing machine. I've done that. It's not nice. Did you see that? No, you know what? Never mind. That's a different intro. In this episode, we're covering chapters 26 and 27 of A Dance with Dragons. The Wayward Bride, and Tyrion. He doesn't get a cute title. He's just Tyrion. In these chapters, we check in with Asha, who things are just not going awesome for her. It turns out she's been married to somebody, but it was a seal. And Tyrion, meanwhile, not much better, but he is winding up going where he had been intending to go to begin with. So I guess... welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now, kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
So, these chapters are a real mixed bag, but what did you think about what's going on with Asha here? And my primary question, that sex scene with Carl.
Listen, so one, it was cool to see Asha. I wasn't sure, like I had forgotten that she was even, like, have we seen her POV in this book? At the very beginning, right? It's been a minute though.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So I was like, oh shit, that's right. We get to check in with her and see what's going on there. And then I got super worried. With the sex
that
scene.
she was like, this meant that she was going to die or something?
Well, no, like the way the sex scene starts, I was like, like, oh shit. Like, I don't want to see this. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I do want to see this. Once, like, I realized that she was into it, I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. But I got a little nervous at first. I'm not going to front because I really thought we were just about to get a grape scene. And, you know, nobody wants that.
I'm not used to people saying grape instead. And
like, there's no reason. I don't have to do that. Like, this is our show. I can say rape, but... you know, nobody wants to hear that.
I'm like I don't know why there was a nerd gift swap that I went to, and somebody brought this purple drink in a bottle, and the label on it was a picture of like an octopus, and it was called Tentacle Grape.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Just like, no. That is a fucked up way to use that. Guys, come on. Yeah.
That's like, you guys know how I am about tentacles. And now you're just adding a whole other layer to it. No, I do not like any of it. And if you guys do, in fact, not know how I feel about tentacles, 0 out of 5 stars.
I feel like they can guess. If you don't know, you can infer. And that should be plenty. So... yeah, the scene with the two of them, I have just always been a big fan of because I appreciate, and you and I were talking about this off mic earlier.
There's
but
a reason
as
it was
somebody
off
who
mic.
likes to be in control in some scenarios, but then very much not in other scenarios, I felt very seen. This particular type of approach working for her the way that it does makes a lot of sense to me.
And we find out that they've been together for a while now. This has been several years.
Mm-hmm.
And that she would have even consented to marry him, but he's lowborn and just would not be of a class to make a proper marriage.
Yeah.
Which is really funny when you find out that she is in fact married now, and that Euron had a seal like in her stead. That this fucking mockery of a wedding that happened. He's such an asshole.
I bet he put it in a dress too.
You know he did.
Absolutely.
He probably tried to wrap something on its head, give it like a wig
like
or
a little
veil or something. You know they did. Fucking assholes.
Okay, now it's just getting cute.
Suddenly it's a video I want to see.
Yeah, that's kind of adorable. But all right. So let's back up because we start off with her in Galbert Glover's hall, and there's a maester who comes and brings her a letter that there's a little something that comes fluttering out, and the writing is flaking off and written in red, and it's from Ramsay Bolton, the Lord of Winterfell, he styles himself nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And he is telling her how we took Moat Cailin and all your boys are dead, and here's a piece of one of them, the prince.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy that. You're next.
Yep, we're on our way. See you soon. TTLY.
Oh my god, that would
Or is it TTYL? Is it TTYL?
Yeah, it's TTYL.
TTYL. What was the other one? LL
BBIAB.
No, that one I don't know. What's that?
Be back in a bit.
Oh, see, it's funny. You're doing like keyboard things, right?
I guess, yeah.
I'm thinking of the way we used to sign our yearbooks. So everything was like TTYL, or the big one was LLYS. You would sign that with your name, which is Love You Like a Sister, and you sign everybody's yearbook.
I've never heard that one before.
Never heard that? Oh yeah,
no.
Yeah, Love You
I
Like a Sister. That's how like my middle school, my like 6th grade graduation. It's filled with that.
Like all of them had to be pretty much lying, but also I really like that as a.
I never talked to any of those bitches again.
So Sean, next postcard, I'm just gonna put a little something extra for you, a little razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle. That will always be funny. It doesn't matter what context. Just insert that into any conversation. And so yeah, we find her here in Glover's castle, which is
Deepwood Mott.
Deepwood Mott. And this is where she ran off to after the King's Moot did not go her way.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that whole thing is such a bummer because it just really feels like if Euron hadn't fucking shown up and ruined everything, it would have gone her way, and probably many people would be happier now than they have turned out to be. Wow. It's like not totally clear that that's true, but I just feel like sticking to what you know instead of branching out the way that he has decided is like the new trend
on his Columbus.
Yeah. Shit. You know, I don't know. I just don't like I am here for innovation and adapting to new times. But when everything is already really fucking unstable as it has been, it just seems like silly is the word that comes to mind, even though that's deeply casual and childlike sounding but it is kind of folly, I suppose, is the word that they would use in this universe. It sounds like folly.
There's this guy that's with her as she's getting this message, this raven. There's this guy named Trist. And later on, you find out his name is Christopher.
Listen,
y'all, the way I fucking cackled and completely lost my shit. That sounds like I'm about to engage in some reverse racism. Christopher is what black people would make up as a name for a white person. It was like
in a Key and Peele
right? Get the fuck out of here, Christopher. Like I laughed so fucking hard when...
Oh, better watch yourself, Aaron. Oh, that's good. I like it.
But
that's, you know what? I love the idea that y'all make up names and that we hear those that we don't realize are intended to be insulting, and we're like, that's badass. Yeah, I'm going to use that. We're just like completely misinterpreting it as wholesome.
Well, in our defense, it's usually wholesome. Like, it's just,
true, just wholesome in a different direction. It's wholesome in a patting you on the head. Oh, you sweet summer child. But we take it as like, wholesome in a, yeah, that's tough.
Because I just sort of assumed his name was Tristan or something,
Of course you would.
And George Martin
why would you not? Nobody's thinking Tris means Tristan. But any Tristafers listening, I'm not sorry. You know you deserve it.
There better not be any Tristafers listening.
Who knows? Who knows?
Why somebody in the comments be like, it's actually an old name. It dates back to 1492. It was
literally.
But he is kind of like, he's there while she's getting this news, and he's just like, well, if Moat Caelin's gone down, Torrhen Square's next, and they're gonna be right up our ass. And Asha is just like, well, somebody named the Cleftjaw. It's a rad name. There's a name that I'm not gonna mock, because he sounds like he could fuck me up. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm not scared of Christopher.
He could too.
This guy, I'm just like, oh, Cleftjaw, solid name. She's like, nah, he's gonna give them, a little bit of the razzle dazzle before they fall. So, we have time. And then she starts thinking about, again, like what you were saying earlier about, like, just how much better things might be if her father was still alive, if Euron hadn't come to power, because Euron has bounced, and the guy that's she's supposed to be married to, whose name I can't remember. Is it Eric?
I don't remember either.
It's like Eric Ironborn or Iron Strong or
Ironsides. Ironsides.
That can't be right. But he is who's like at home, the Iron Islands running shit. So if she were still home, she would kind of, I'm not going to say be in charge, because as a woman, she really wouldn't have any say, but she would be, I guess, at the side of the man who was running everything.
Right.
But she has skedaddled off, so she's not home for any of this stuff. And like you said earlier, Euron is just, they call it dragon hunting. He's off chasing dragons, which means a completely different thing nowadays.
What does it mean nowadays?
Chasing a dragon? People usually use that.
Oh, you mean like trying to get your high?
Yeah.
Your perfect high. Oh, yeah. I was not, like, chasing the dragon and saying somebody's dragon hunting. I mean, people don't call it dragon hunting.
I called it dragon hunting, but the book says that Euron is chasing dragons.
Ah, okay. I see what's happening there. I was just like, do we say like dragon hunting? Has it evolved into that? Oh, okay. Yeah. And this, when, let's see, Dagmar Cleftjaw, Dagmar is his first name. He will smash them. They are only wolves. And Asha's like, they're not wolves anymore. Those wolves are dead, dude. This is a whole other beast that we're dealing with here.
You're dealing with the people that kill them.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Which is a very important distinction, I think. And I'm glad that she raised it.
And these dudes that she's with are like, we should go and help Dagon and go out in a blaze of glory. And she realizes, like, wow, they don't even believe that we're even likely to win. They've completely given up on that. And they're just looking for a death.
Just looking for a good death. Yeah. Yeah. And they've been sitting at this place, you have to imagine, for a while. And these are people who, one, and this comes up over and over through her chapter, they are like away from the sea I don't know if they're literally in the mountains. It sounds like they're in the wilderness to me. but they've been sitting in this castle, not sailing, not raiding, not reaving, not doing any of the shit, not fighting, not doing any of the shit that makes them like who they are, that their like entire identities are built around.
Yeah.
They had the initial battle, which sounds like it really wasn't much to it. She took the castle pretty easily, she says, later on. So you gotta, they're bored. This is not the life that they see for themselves, but they're loyal to her. So they get an opportunity to go like get active, and they're like, yeah, let's go do that. Because this isn't what we're not going to just die out here in the middle of the woods, like butchered. Like that's not what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you know, the being restless in some place that nobody wants you, that you don't really want to be. And the whole like nature of the way that she got kind of humiliated before all of this went down. And then after she left, was humiliated in absentia. Yeah. It's just the whole energy of this place is what I keep imagining. And I know this is a weird thing, but I'm imagining like a Greyhound station where everybody is just like, the point of being here is to go somewhere else, but I'm stuck here and I can't, you know what I mean? Like that kind of Greyhound place. They always have the worst vibe because people treat it like a bathroom.
Yep.
And it's just, you sometimes get stuck there for hours. But
can confirm.
It's just like that's always what I think of with this whole thing, is that sense of like impatient waiting, pacing, like looking for any sign that something is happening, that there's something else to be done, because you aren't in control of anything. And so you're trying to seize on whatever presents itself just to have something to fucking do.
Yeah, just to have a point.
Yeah.
You know, have a point. Like, what is the point of me?
So yeah, this is when she goes up to her room and Carl follows her up and she says, "Get out, I want to be alone." And he's like, "Yeah, no, you don't." And he starts to kiss her and she's like, "Touch me again and I'll what?" He drew his dagger. "Undress yourself, girl. Fuck yourself, you beardless boy. I'd sooner fuck you." One quick slash unlaced her jerkin. Asha reached for her axe, but Carl dropped his knife and caught her wrist, twisting back her arm until the weapon fell from her fingers. He pushed her back onto Glover's bed, kissed her hard, and tore off her tunic to let her breasts spill out. When she tried to knee him in the groin, he twisted away and forced her legs apart with his knees. "I'll have you now." "Do it," she spat, "and I'll kill you in your sleep." She was sopping wet when he entered her. "Damn you," she said. "Damn you, damn you." And like, look, I am very quick to point out, just because you get wet or hard does not mean that's consent. That's not the same thing. But clearly they have an understanding.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know, this is something that they are used to with each other.
Yeah, it wasn't I wasn't sure how much consent was happening until it became very clear there was consent. And then I was like, oh, all right, which is like a weird thing, because then it becomes like, oh, so you don't have a problem with the way it happens. But no, it's not what you do, folks. It's the consent is the key.
Yep.
And then once you have that, you can go nuts.
Indeed.
You know, just like, you know, what is I can't remember how that expression goes, so I'll keep it to myself. But anyway, so I was relieved to find out that this was not going to be her getting assaulted, you know, by one of her men.
Yes.
Because to be quite frank, it starts from she's getting such bad news and she's in such a bad, vulnerable place that it felt like, oh my God, are her men starting to see her weakness? Are they?
Oh, like interesting.
They know the end is coming and they're stuck here. Has one of them just been like pushed to the edge? I didn't, you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking was happening here. So I was so relieved.
I didn't take it that way, but I wonder if that's what George meant to have you be worried about. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know
if that was purposeful or not.
It just felt like she was just getting like hit after hit after hit, and I was just like, oh, not this too. So I was very relieved to find out that no, this was actually probably the best part of her day. She's having a pretty shitty day.
Yeah, true. So as you say, we find out like the two of them been fucking a while. She's fucked plenty of people, but Carl is the best. and is just like, man, he can lay it down. And the way this is described, he fucked her until she screamed, and then again until she wept, which that's
what you're looking for.
That's what you need when you're in this kind of mood, man. You really do.
Turn your day around. That'll do it.
Mm-hmm. And I love this. She says, "Now your life is mine. Where did I put my dagger?" Like she's about to kill him in his sleep. And when she's like, "Oh, where's my dagger?" And then she's like, "Oh, here it is." And she just goes down on him and wakes him up, like riding him. And it's just, they have a really great time. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful time.
We get a little flashback of when they first sort of became a thing, why they call him Carl the Maid, because there's a bunch of different Carls running around. Yes. And he's got that nickname because he can't grow a beard. So there's like a little, history of her calling him Peach Fuzz and then showing him what a peach actually was, because he had no idea what that reference meant.
I love that. I don't know why, but that gets me so like
it was very sweet.
What fuzz? Oh, okay.
And she's very happy with him. But again, we find out that it just wasn't in the cards for them to ever be like married. And so they just had this relationship through the years. And my assumption is because they're so close that he's like one of her ride or dies. And it comes up a little bit later that Christopher is also like a ride or die. Like he wants to be with her in a real bad way.
Yeah.
But she does not see it for him.
He is actually somebody that we have met before. Do you remember?
I don't.
Yeah. He came up to her and tried to what do they call it when you're trying to like present yourself as a suitor? I guess we would call it shoot a shot, but they would call it something else. And it's like a whole thing that he knew her when she was young.
Oh, right.
And she's just like, dude, I am not
who
you think I am anymore.
Yes, I remember now. Did I know his name was Christopher back then?
I don't remember if that's like, if you had the same reaction, if we both, I don't remember at all. But I would be very interested if anybody recalls the way we react to hear whether or not Rashawn had the same reservations about
they might have
this
just
kid.
called him Tris, like they do at the beginning of this chapter. He might have just kept that loaded, in his back pocket for later. So she is at Deepwood, and there are still some people there that she's low-key holding hostage. There's a Mrs. Glover, a Lady Glover, Mrs. Glover. They do not say that. They do not say that.
I don't know why, but there's something like so disrespectful about that.
But there's there's still the Glovers are there, and some other people that are like running the castle. But we don't get a lot of detail about just how many people are there.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel like a significant number, Yeah. And we do know that the menfolk all left to go ride with Rob. And there's a mention of Lady Glover spends all her time like praying at the heart tree that her husband and sons will come home. And Asha is just like, if those rumors about that wedding are true, they are not coming back, ma'am.
Yeah. There's something very sad about how Asha's like, her gods are as deaf as our drowned god. Like, I know that she has never really been particularly devout, but hearing her just be like, the gods don't give a fuck. It was just, bummer. You've reached this point,
There's something too about the fact that the Red Wedding happened and news of it has spread, right? But because the way information travels in this world, things get exaggerated, they get misconstrued, taken out of context. You know what I mean? So there's the idea that you can have a hint that you lost family at this thing, but it never really be confirmed. Yeah. Like no one ever says, I saw your husband go down. I saw your son get shot by an arrow. That just leaves such a such a question looming over you forever. I can't imagine you know, not knowing for certain one way. And of course, there are circumstances in modern life where that happens, where you don't know for certain one way or the other what happened to someone.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like an especially cruel thing.
Yeah,
To
agree.
just, you know, have like this open door where you're always just kind of like, well, maybe they're okay. Maybe he didn't die then. Maybe he will come home.
That's something that I have had literal nightmares about. Like a dream that somebody I love, there was a dream I had where it was, you know, like hundreds of years ago, and I was living with this guy in a little cabin on a mountainside, and he one day went out to go hunting and he just never came home. And in the dream, I just had to accept that he had likely died and that I would never know what had happened to him. I would never find out. I just had to wait for him day after day, wondering until enough time had passed that it simply grew to the point where there was no likelihood he was alive. And I woke up from that dream like really shaken, because it's not knowing is the worst case scenario.
It really is. And you know, people who are friends with me on Facebook will know that I had, you know, a family situation last spring, and we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's just gone, and we don't know. So it's an awful thing. And so that little line about how she's still praying and Asha is looking at her just like, oh, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, and it was really heartbreaking. And Asha's also she's in it like what this whole chapter really is a lot of, up until things get crazy, there's a lot of just like, what are my options here?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't go home. Where else am I supposed to go? What is there for me to do? And at one point Tristan is like, we can just go be pirates. And I will always,
I love that she's just like, that's tempting, actually.
It's
I
fucking,
don't hate that idea.
What does Kristen Cole say? We can go sell oranges or something like that.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot that he fucking says that. These guys have a lot of ideas.
They really do. They're always trying to convince somebody to run off and do some dumb shit. Like, what?
Oh man. That I can't believe I didn't think of that. And like, because it's the same, you know, the same sort of situation. Some guy who really doesn't have a lot to offer besides some dick, telling a woman who's like in a much higher social position, like, why don't we just bail?
Right? Let's just run off together.
Man.
Eric Ironmaker. That's who she gets married to.
I'm pretty sure it was Old Ironsides. Okay. Sure.
Oh my God.
Sorry, everybody. That joke is not funny to anybody but myself. So let's see. Here is where we find out like exactly how she took off. Because it says her Lord Father had given her 30 long ships to capture Deepwood. 4 remained, counting her own Black Wind. And one of those belonged to Tris Botley, who had joined her when all her men were fleeing. No, that is not just. They sailed home to do homage to their king. If anyone fled, it was me. The memory still shamed her. And, you know, girl, I'm not mad about it. Don't be too down on yourself. The thing you would have been staying for to protect your pride and not be, quote, shamed is married to some dude you don't give a fuck about so that your brother can get you out of the way. Like, uncle, I guess. But nevertheless, I just feel like she's being quite hard on herself, and she didn't have many options. She had a lot fewer than she would have if she were a man. So I just think, go easy on yourself.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, she was, and the fact that Euron married her to get her out of the way, I mean, it was looking like he may have done worse if she had stayed, you know, like, I thought her life might be in jeopardy.
That's true. Yeah.
So
getting her out of the way in this sense was actually one of the less bloody. I think it's mentioned, like, he doesn't want to be seen as a kinslayer, you know? So, yeah. Although, it's likely that he probably was, I guess. If the rumors about
Right. Like, I don't think he has
his
any
brother
compunction about
true.
actually doing it. He just doesn't want to be seen doing
Exactly.
it.
There's an episode of I Love Lucy where she's telling Ricky that she's written 2 articles for the newspaper, and one of them is about her adoring, generous, loving, supportive husband who everybody would be lucky to be married to. And he's getting all puffed up and happy, and then she says, and this one's about the dirty rat who won't let me be in the show. And he's like, wait, what are you going to do? And she's like, if you cooperate, I'll send the first and I'll tear this one up. And I have a carbon copy. And he says, that's blackmail. Oh, come now. Let's not call it that. That's what it is. I know, but let's not call it that. Anyway, so she's even sort of like, that was actually a pretty good stroke on Euron's part to decide to marry me off. Like, it has effectively completely taken me out of the running of anything. So there's something so annoying when you are facing off against a person that you can't help but be like, oh, they're really good at this. God damn it.
And also the person that he married her off to was a rival of his. And so this Eric guy, so now he's gotten Asha out of the way, and also sort of
placated
this other guy who could have been a thorn in his side and made things difficult for him.
Just throw some young pussy at it. Problem solved.
Well, also probably letting him be in charge probably went a long way too.
True. So this is when she goes downstairs to find some food in the kitchen, and this is when Triss comes up and calls her his queen. And she's just like, what can I do with this guy? I know that he's like serious about following me, but it's always about him feeling things that are about someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's brave. Like, even later on when this whole fight goes down in the woods, he's out here.
Oh yeah, he's out there making stuff happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the as we have said, trying to take out, she's thinking like pirates, he says traitors. Even his suggestion that's like willfully silly and romantic isn't as romantic in a way as what she's wanting. She's like, can't you be a little bit more bloodthirsty, please?
She says back to him when he makes his offer of running away together, she's like, okay, you, me, and Carl. And he flinches at the name.
Yep.
And then she's like, there's another girl around here who might like to go on this adventure with you. And she recommends someone named Hagen's girl, she calls her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, but I am still the Kraken's daughter, and my place, she's about to do this whole song and dance. And he's like, where is your place, ma'am?
Yeah, he really calls her out on that.
He really does. She got nothing. She's got nothing.
Your place is in this sad castle that you don't even want, with these people who are just like waiting for us to get overrun by people who you have just admitted are inevitably on their way. Yeah, sounds good. Great. And let's see. The whole thing with Torgon. This is a weird bit.
I love this bit.
Tell us about it. You go.
I was just going to say, so he tells her the story because they eventually start talking about how the King's Moot is a done deal, and there's no way out of it or around it, except this one time 100 years ago where they had one, and a guy, let me think, the king, I guess, dies. Mm-hmm. And they have a King's Moot, and there's these sons, but none of the sons win. This other one wins. And long story short, there was a son who wasn't there, this Torgon guy. And because they had the King's Moot without him there, it sort of invalidated the whole thing. And the guy who got into power, the bad brother, ends up deposed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like,
in large part because he was such a shit to
he was also,
absolutely everybody.
oh yeah, he was absolutely, his name was Good Brother, and he was so awful they called him Bad Brother.
Cutting, guys. Wow. Revolutionary.
Right? They would spend a lot of time workshopping that before they rolled it out. But and so then Asha's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so it says here that that it had been ruled unlawful because he wasn't there to make his claim. And she is so excited about this news, this memory that's been jogged, that she actually kisses Triss.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, that is great news. You just gave me the best news ever. And then it gets interrupted because they hear a war horn.
Yeah.
But so she's thinking in this moment, Theon is the key. Because they had a King's Moot without all of the king's children there.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get Theon and I can get him back home, boom, done. And especially if people are not happy with Euron's rule because he's out Columbusing around the world and, he's not taking care of business and doing what we're supposed to be doing as Ironborn people. It feels like she thinks that she might have a pretty good claim. Or Theon, rather, would have a pretty good claim. And it said when she first opened the Raven from Ramsay that she had assumed that her brother was dead. And this is kind of the first indication she gets that no, he's actually still alive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So she's got the wheels turning. She's got a plan hatched. But then the rest of the chapter happens. And then none of it is good.
Yeah. Yeah. So this whole idea, as you say, we wrap up here because they get interrupted. And let's see these dudes are attempting to bust in. They take him down. There's one who survives and she's like, so how many were you? And he's like, just the 5 of us. And she's like, you're a fucking liar. And she twists the knife literally. And then he's like, there's thousands of us. And she's like, you know what? Fuck this. And she just kills him. I do enjoy him just being like, I'm just going to keep saying anything, right? But I'm never going to tell the truth. I respect that. I feel like I would cave.
She was just like, you know what? Fuck all this. And she just shoves the spear through his throat.
And then we, have everybody deciding how this is going to be their final stand. They're going to attack and we're going to defend. We're definitely going to lose, but we're going to go down like badasses. And she's like, or hear me out. We leave. And they seem very much willing to do that. I was sort of worried that they were going to be like, what do you mean we can't run? You know?
Yeah.
They aren't at all. They just do what she tells them to do, which I actually appreciated because I'm just prepared for them to dig in their heels every second with her just because she's a woman.
Yeah, and that really doesn't happen with her. And I agree with you. It's a nice change. We don't have to keep fighting the same, my men won't listen to me because I'm a woman battle every time we're dealing with her. Like it is understood that no, these men are following her because she has shown herself to them enough that they trust and are loyal to her. So she doesn't have to keep relitigating the same thing over and over and over again. But they are a little bit away from the water though.
They are though. Got
to get from the castle to the ships. And there's a chance that the ships might not even be there.
Yeah, that's the part that I like the least. She's just like, look, I don't bring my ships close to land as a rule because of this exact possibility. So it should be good. But somebody is like, but what if they aren't there though? And she's like, well, then we're fucked. Let's go. It does not change her goal at all, really. And they head out. Things are okay at the start, but it starts to get dark, and eventually somebody's horse, his the leg gets fractured because the horse stepped into a pit and twisted, and the scream that this horse lets out is so, it's sort of like if they didn't know where we were, they fucking do now.
Right.
And sure enough, they get set upon in the woods, and she realizes quite quickly, we don't know these woods like these guys do. This is their home turf. We are completely screwed. And she puts up a fucking fight, though.
They really do. They really do. At some point, somebody's head gets tossed back, comes rolling back.
Yep. That's
like,
the first indication, like somebody goes off into the woods to fuck and take a piss and whatever, and then a head comes back and they're just like, okay, here we go, I guess.
Yeah. At one point, when all this is starting to really break, and she says out loud, "I send you each a piece of the prince." And Carl is like, "I'd sooner have a piece of you."
Fucking Carl. He's always poised and ready. God bless him.
Oh my God. But yeah, this battle is like, it's intense, and it's weird too, because like it's so dark. They can't see each other. She keeps, the people they're fighting, right? She keeps calling them trees. Like there's a point where they're on the wall of the castle and they're looking out, and it looks like the trees are marching to them.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very Macbeth, is it? Where do you remember that in Macbeth, the trees?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Well, when he has the talk with the witches, they say something about how when the woods reach Dunstanane, or whatever the name of the castle is, that's when shit's going to go down.
Right.
And it turned in. They think that means like, oh, it's going to take a really long time. The woods have to grow up to the castle, so we're fine. And then it turns out, no, it's just people dressed as trees, and that's I
forgot all about that part.
Yeah, Dunsinane, that's the name of that.
There's a when the people first come over the wall, and they I think that's when she describes like what they're wearing, and they ask the guy who he is, and he's a Flint, and he's wearing whatever he's wearing. I was like, who are these people? Am I like, do I know these people? Like, I'm not very good with remembering everybody's like fucking banners and all like what they wear and everything. But I was like really trying hard to remember who these people are. And I did not. And I don't know if I met them. And it wasn't until the very, very end. I was like, oh.
As you should. I don't think, in the midst of all of this chaos, I'm not sure how many people would have put it together who this was, but I'm not.
I mean, I just like assumed it was Ramsay. Like I went into this fight thinking, oh shit, they're here. Ramsay's here. That was really fast.
Yes, exactly.
Like, what was the point of sending a raven? You could have just delivered that shit in person. Got here the same day.
It got held up in customs. What can you do? Things happen sometimes.
But they have this really intense, gory, basically a bloodbath. And they're going they're going toe to toe. And she's dropping people. That one of them is just like yelling out how many he's killed every time he drops one.
I loved it.
And
the one she winds up against in the end is just yelling "cunt" repeatedly.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, that was not great.
I found that hilarious. It's just like me just yelling "cock, cock" because I found a guy to fight. Like, what a weird thing to fucking do.
And throughout the fight, she's still calling them wolves. Oh, the wolf did this and the wolf did that. And the last guy did like cracks, and I couldn't tell. Like, so she gets backed up against this tree or this wall, and she gets cracked on the side of her head with an axe, and with the axe head, and it just says "crunched," which is terrible.
Yeah,
that is so. Oh my god, you guys! Like I got like a shiver when I read it. Crunched against her temple, and I was like, oh no. Oh no. And it says, he lifted her up for the blow that would finish her, and then a trumpet blew, and she's like, that's weird, that's wrong. There are no trumpets in the drowned god's watery halls. And then I'm still like, I don't know what the fuck is happening and who this is. And the last bit is just that she dreamt of red hearts burning and a black stag and a golden wood with flame streaming from his antlers. And I'm like, oh my god, fucking Stannis. It's Stannis going the roundabout way that Jon had told him, like, go up through the mountain clans. Or is it mountain clans, or was that Tyrion's people?
I think they're still called mountain
Okay.
clans.
I just go up, and so I'm like, oh, that's who these people are, and it's fucking Stannis. And now I'm torn, right? Because I know that, like, in Stannis's brain, you know, he's still fighting for the Iron Throne, and, like, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But she is on an entirely different trajectory at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and she's not interested in the Iron Throne. I'm just like, well, this is just unfortunate.
This is quite unfair, actually.
But that's how her chapter ends.
This is I just really like the fact that we get people who give good advice and other people who take it.
Mm-hmm.
Between Stannis listening to Jon and Aegon listening to Tyrion. If only Daenerys would listen to somebody.
Oh.
Please, Daenerys, please.
Yeah, that's a
But,
real
you know, a couple of good solid choices that I feel like
give us hope.
Yeah, you know,
that
just
people can be counseled.
And if it doesn't turn out well, it won't feel like it's their fault. It will feel like you did your best. You really did give it a shot. I respect that.
Right,
you know, like
yeah.
So anyway, speaking of Tyrion, that's who we go to next. And Tyrion is in a bad way. The whole start of this chapter, he's still thinking he's being brought to see Cersei.
Oh yeah, for most of this chapter, he is still convinced he's on his way to King's Landing, and also he's just being he's like luggage on the back of Jorah's fucking horse. He's just like
very
all
much
trussed up, and Jorah is no fun. He's no Illyrio. You know, there's
sure fucking isn't.
There's no like wine and cheese and comfort. And at least when he was on the boat, you know, they could play a couple games, and there was like a relatively attractive woman to ogle. You know, there's not even witty banter with Jorah. He's just like the worst traveling companion ever.
There's something about how he just determinedly refuses to be like entertained,
no, not at all,
or amused by Tyrion.
I'll have none of your lies, imp.
There is something about that I can't help but like at this point in the story, because Tyrion is so annoying so often now. That is like, normally Jorah, I'd be like, can you fucking please lighten up, sir? And at this point I'm like, no, good. Everybody needs to stop acting like Tyrion's so cute and clever, and just tell him to shut the fuck up for a second. Listen, at one point he's like, the only thing I ask is that I get to rape and murder my sister.
That's true.
And I was like, you couldn't just murder her. That'd be bad enough. But you're like, no, I gotta get to rape her too, otherwise no deal.
And it turns out that that's like the answer that she was looking for. So now part of me is like, I think he not overplayed his hand, but like really leaned into it, because that's what she was expecting to hear. She wanted to hear the worst, your very, very worst impulse, your worst instinct. Even, you know, so he was like, okay,
maybe
you want to hear the deep black hatred that's in my heart? Okay, here you go. I want to rape and kill my sister. Because he's never given any indication before that he's wanted to rape Cersei. That's never been a thing.
Yes, he has.
Has he?
Yeah, that's come up in his little dark inner thoughts before.
Oh, gross.
Well,
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I just block that right one out.
Let me, I'm just gonna...
Don't find it. I don't want to hear it.
No, I just want to see... Well, okay. Yeah. That's, I won't get into the whole thing, but it's coming up.
It's come up, or it's coming up again, you mean?
No, it's come up.
Oh,
like,
gotcha,
it's coming up. When I say it's coming up, it's in my search. It's coming up.
Oh, I see what you mean. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes! I swear to fucking God. Why?
So you know.
Well, then I take it back. Then that's really in his heart. Then he's not just playing it up for this woman.
And I do think that it is his worst impulse. Like, I don't believe that. I think that it isn't something that he's actively like, oh, I've got to do this. Like, this is my mission now. I think that he is attempting to be shocking, you know, but I may be wrong. Like, I'm giving him a bit of benefit of the doubt there that he may not deserve.
I mean,
So-
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt because I didn't have any recollection that this is something that's come up before. But now that I'm aware of that, I feel like I'm going to rescind any benefit that I had previously offered. But so at the beginning, he is just being lugged around by Jorah, who is not interested in any of his wit or his japes, as they like to use.
Yes.
And
at one point he says, is everything a jape to you? And he's like, yeah, all of it. You, me, life. Yes. It's a fucking joke. It's pathetic. Yeah. There's a part of me that was kind of like, I see that though.
Like 1 second you're just like, oh, Tyrion, you have no idea what you're talking about. And the next you're like, oh, that's it.
A little bit. And he's trussed up and like on the back of this, I think it's I don't think it's a donkey, I think it's a horse. And they're going through the countryside. So they're at first leaving the city, and there's all these beautiful gardens and homes and people who are being served drinks by slaves as they relax reading in their gardens, which I'm like, that sounds amazing. I wish that I could have a garden to relax in, and just servants, thankfully not slaves, please, in, you know, around lighting candles for me and pouring me refresh on my drink. And eventually they start going through some areas where things are a little bit more sketchy, and there's lots of ragged children running around, and it's just a bit more impoverished until eventually it's straight up countryside and there's nothing around them. And there's a lot of like Tyrion reflecting on the downward spiral of Volantis and the fact that there's much ruin around him. Like, as they're heading out, it's clear a lot more of this used to be homes and palaces, and things have been broken and abandoned. Yeah.
There's a thing where he says that he's talking about there was a smell and how it hangs in the air. And he says something out loud about the city smells like an old whore.
Yeah.
And he says something like, you know, I'm not complaining, whores, the young ones smell better, but the old ones know more tricks. And Jorah responds to that, but it's just like, oh, you would know more about that than I would. And Tyrion is like, oh, that's right. Didn't I just meet you at a whorehouse though?
Yup.
And Jorah is just like, shut up. I'll take that tongue of yours if you don't shut up.
I love that. He's like, oh, was that your virgin daughter sitting in your lap back there? But it just happened to look a lot like Daenerys to make it all the creepier.
God, right? Right.
And eventually, as they get like further out, he's running into a lot of elephants, which I find delightful. We've got regular elephants. We've got dwarf elephants. We've got, at one point, he's like, oh, is that a Lirio? Oh, no, it's just a white dwarf elephant. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God.
But the flavor of his surroundings is very vivid. I felt like I was getting a good picture of where we are and how it feels, and
how it smells,
strangeness of it.
Yeah, everything. And it's so crowded where he is too. It's a recurring theme is that like they get stopped in traffic, you know, more than once where there's just people, it's teeming. And they come past some I don't know if it's like the main temple, I guess the temple of the Lord of Light, and Tyrion is looking at it like it is so much bigger than anything he's ever seen. I think it's like 3 times the size of the Great Sept of Baelor, which was, you know, pretty impressive. What? So like my ring light, not my, like on my computer, it just turned on by itself.
Ooh,
It
spooky.
is spooky. Like all of a sudden there was extra light in the room that I was not responsible for.
Well, at least I was almost certain this was going to be GarageBand stuff.
No. It just,
That's a nice change.
I mean, if you like ghosts, sure, it's a nice change.
I'm sure it is a ghost, so I'm sorry for that.
But and so then we see this priest again. Now we've seen Bonero before,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so he's out on the steps and he's doing what he does.
What are you doing? Stop paying attention to the light.
No, that was a cat this time.
Oh, so a ghost.
I've been in this room for like 6 hours, right? Talking to you, and there's been nothing going on in here the whole time. And then within a matter of seconds, the light turned on by itself, and suddenly a cat was in the room as well. So I got a little, disoriented.
Don't let that cat distract you. That's what she wants.
That's if the cat wins.
She loves being the center of attention.
She really does. She really, really does. And so he's out still preaching, and Tyrion is looking at Bonero, and he just asks if that's a slave tattoo on his face. And we find out, and
It's got flames.
Yeah, girl.
Sounds dope as hell, actually.
And it says that the Red Temple buys them as children and then makes them priests or temple prostitutes or warriors. And then he points, and there's just a line of men outside the temple, and they've got unsullied energy, if you ask me.
It doesn't seem like it's quite as brutal, the training. Like it's brutal because of slavery, but it's not like we make them kill the puppies that they grew to love.
True. We don't hear too much about the training process, but I just meant like they're giving unsullied with the sort of discipline and the way they're lined up outside and, and all that. And they're called the Fiery Hand, which is dope.
Yes. You guys got to get your names right. That's all it takes. And we're just kind of like, maybe you're not so bad. I don't know. Fiery Hand sounds cool. Christopher, think hot. And he says, how many fingers does this hand have? 1,000, never more and never less. A new flame is kindled for every one that gutters out. So poetic.
That's really intense, though. That discipline is like no more and no less.
And they're talking basically about how Daenerys is the answer, and anybody who is like trying to gainsay her, or they're basically so hardcore for her that anybody who isn't her is a problem. Which Tyrion is like, oh, Aegon, I really hope you're not heading this way, because that is not going to go the way you want it to go. You've got nothing to offer them.
They've got a prophecy, and it tells of a hero. One hero, not two.
Yep.
So we don't need you, and you don't have dragons. So, yeah.
So, and I do really enjoy that he's thinking to himself that he is surprised at how much he cares what Aegon decides to do. And that in particular, I really enjoyed, because he has been attempting so much to have this like nihilistic, the world's a joke, life's a joke, who cares? But he can't wholly manage that.
Right.
And I like when it peeks out every now and then.
He also says in this moment too that he's like, surely Griff will be smart enough to understand that this is not where they need to be. Like in a very hopeful kind of like, well, they still have a chance, because Griff's not an idiot. He'll get it. He'll see what's happening and know that we got to get the fuck out. We can't stay here.
Exactly.
So they find like a place to spend the first thing they do is, I think they sell the horse. Jorah sells his horse.
And he sells it and then buys manacles.
Yes, he does.
And at first, when he takes the ropes off, Tyrion's like, oh, sweet, thank you. And he's like, Don't thank me yet.
You are not like this next bit. Puts him in the irons. Tyrion is just like, this is excessive, my friend. This feels like too much.
That did crack me up a little bit. Just like, I can't.
Is this, you
Must
overdoing
we?
it? Who are you trying to impress here, sir?
But yeah, and eventually they go to this inn, and it turns out like there's just a loop on the wall that he's gonna get chained to, and he can't even like fully sit down.
This is a city of slaves, so the rooms come equipped with like, what do you do with your slave at night? Oh, you gotta chain him up. Oh, we gotta hand it anything right on the wall, right here, because it's just built into the infrastructure of this society.
Ugh. Grim. And so Tyrion, like, eventually when it's nappy time, he is in some pain because there's no way to get comfortable. There's no way to fully put his weight anywhere but on his like wrists and ankles and hands, and it just sounds like completely miserable. But Jorah's like, well, think on your sins. And I was like, I fucking hate you sometimes, dude.
He's nice enough to like split a chicken with Tyrion and gives him like, I think he gives him some ale to drink or something for dinner. And that's like the nicest thing he's done.
Yeah.
And then gets all comfy in his little bed and leaves Tyrion chained up on the wall to like get the best sleep that he can possibly manage considering his circumstances. He also says, Tyrion says at one point to Jorah though, he says something like, all right, I know who you are. You know, it wasn't a big mystery. I figured out who you are, you know, and you know who I am. I also work with Varys, and you work with Varys. So we should be like on the same side.
Yeah, he's just so off about what exactly it is that Jorah's doing. And I couldn't tell. I don't think Jorah understands what Tyrion believes is happening right now.
You know, Tyrion says something specifically about Cersei to Jorah, and he just laughs and accuses Tyrion of trying to trick him.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to find that spot, but yeah. So maybe he does it. Does he know about like he must know. There's no way that everybody around him is aware, and he isn't, about the reward proposed for Tyrion.
He just says he's like, he gets really offended at the implication that he was, you know, like a puppet of Varys at all. He's like, I took his money. I won't deny it, but I was never his creature, and my loyalties lie elsewhere now. And then Tyrion is like, so your loyalty is with Cersei? You're a fucking asshole and an idiot. My sister wants my head, and you have a sharp sword. Why don't you just do it now? And then that's when Jorah laughs and is like, are you trying to trick me or something, or beg me to kill you so I'll let you live? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he just leaves the room. He goes and gets dinner.
So, like, I don't know if he I feel like he doesn't get what Tyrion thinks. I think it doesn't really matter. I'm just,
I think you're right though. I think he doesn't get it because he's in that, like, anything that comes out of this man's mouth is a lie and a trick, and I can't trust anything. So he's not getting the very basics of what Tyrion is saying because he's looking for some like complicated, you know, ruse or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think you're right. It's just like, well, it can't be as simple as him just telling me the thing. I forgot when they're like heading there and there's some heads that are mounted on the wall, and he's like, what did they do? The woman was a slave who raised her hand to her mistress. The older man was accused of fomenting rebellion and spying for the Dragon Queen, and the young one killed his father. Tyrion gave the rotting head a second look. Why, it almost looks like those lips are smiling. You goon. So as you say, he sleeps, and in the morning, I'll take you off the ring if you'll do as you're told. Will it involve dancing? I might find dancing difficult. I cannot feel my legs. They may have fallen off.
He tries to fucking, after he loosens the manacles, Tyrion tries to take a step and instantly just hits the floor as the blood starts rushing back. And it's really painful.
This poor guy, I really felt like this just sounds so
Tyrion is
miserable.
like, wherever the fuck you plan on taking me, you're going to have to either roll me there or carry me there because I can't fucking walk.
He basically picks him up like a piece of luggage.
He picks up.
Like by the manacles and is just like, come along, like he's got a little baby carrier.
Oh shit.
So this is when they go downstairs. They're going to meet with this woman, and Jorah had bought a pair of gloves, which at the time I had forgotten about this lady and was like, is that for Daenerys gloves? That's weird.
I assumed it was for Daenerys too.
It's just like, that's not, she doesn't want gloves. What are you doing? But they're walking in and there is a dwarf that spots Tyrion and drops his spoon in surprise. Like he's in the middle of eating something. And Tyrion's like, that dude recognized me. And he's like, and so like, if he wants to come and try and fucking take you, go ahead. He could give it a shot. And he goes into a corner, they get breakfast, and Tyrion keeps looking around and he's like, are you expecting somebody? What's happening? Last night, the talk here was all of Westeros. Some exiled lord has hired the Golden Company to win back his lands for him. Half the captains in Volantis are racing upriver to Volantheris to offer him their ships. And Tyrion is almost chokes and is like, wow.
This is so
Is
wild.
he doing it? Oh my God. I enjoy that he gets to hear this.
Yeah, I love too that Tyrion's first thought is like, is he playing in my face?
Mm-hmm.
Does he already know that I was with Griff and Aegon? Does he know about all that shit already? Like, what the fuck? Because imagine how nutty it must feel to like have someone tell you this type of news that you were like such a part of, but they have no idea that you were a part of it.
Yeah, you were like literally instrumental. And now it's just being told to you third person like you were not involved. And it's like, you're just messing with me, right? And I just enjoy him kind of being like, well, I wonder where we're headed from here then. But, you know, there's not a lot of hope ahead for him. And this is when he says, I'll hire you. And if you swear me your sword, I'll drown you in gold once I win his seat back, my dad's seat. And he says, I saw a man drowned in gold once. It was not a pretty sight. Fair.
Yeah. Never forget.
So this is when they are brought over to see this woman that is apparently called Vogaro's whore behind her back. She knows about it enough to call herself by that name.
Yeah.
But is most often referred to as the widow of the waterfront.
This was really interesting.
Evidently, she's got a certain Varys-like setup here where she knows a lot and has connections and can offer favors, and she wants people to kowtow to her a little bit, which Jorah seems unwilling or
unable or not
to do,
or even doesn't seem to understand that's what she requires, because he's just not very savvy.
No. He keeps just sort of treating it like, here, I gave you your payment. Give me the thing. And he doesn't understand that, one, it's not about that. And two, the payment you gave her is real shitty in comparison to the stuff that other people gave her. Yeah. Gloves, like there's all of these gorgeous, you know, very unique things described on the table and how tawdry and cheap
his little pittance looked.
Yeah.
And she was a slave who married one of the triarchs, which is like, talk about a fucking come up. But
women don't really get elected anymore, even though it had been the way things were for a while. Women were elected, but that fell out of fashion.
And she had
apparently.
to move out of their very lovely home after he died because there's like a rule that a freed man or freed person is not allowed to live within the Black Wall.
Mm-hmm.
So now she lives at the Merchant House, which is this little inn where they're meeting her and where they spent the night. And it's been 30 odd years and she's still there.
Yeah. So this is punctuated because what Jorah wants is to go to Mereen, which catches Tyrion
God,
completely off guard.
That moment when he realizes, when he hears those words, and
He starts
almost
cracking up.
chokes to death. It is so fucking funny. Oh my God.
I do really enjoy him laughing and her being like, something's wrong with your dwarf.
Is he broken?
You gotta take him to see somebody. But yeah, this reminded me so much of when with the wind blown, Quentin's like, we're gonna have to abandon and betray these guys, and then they're like, hey, we need you to go to Mereen and see the queen, and he's like, okay.
You're right. Oh God, you're right. That's oh shit.
So she basically tells him, sorry, you're out of luck. But then somebody comes after Tyrion, and it turns out it's one of the performers that was riding like the pig and the dog.
Wedding, from the fucking wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this and it turned out to be a woman.
Yes.
And her name is Penny. And Tyrion recognizes her finally. And that, doesn't he ask her like that? Which did you ride, the pig or the dog or whatever?
He does, yes. And she says the dog, he always rode the pig. But it's such a bummer because it turns out her brother was beheaded, and it was for the prize, so to speak. And he had nothing to fucking do with anything, and nobody gives a shit. What's it harm them to just kill a random dwarf and take his head? And so she blames Tyrion, and she's coming at him in this moment because she feels like he put them in the crosshairs, which I can understand. It's not like fair, but also you need to blame somebody. So sure. And
I mean, it's not Tyrion's fault, but it's Tyrion's fault. And in between like that moment and when they first sit down and Jorah is doing so terribly with the widow, and she knows exactly who Tyrion is. Like there's no, she's hip.
Yes.
And which I just thought was really interesting because, well, her business is to know. So, it doesn't seem to occur to Jorah that she would know anything about him. Which is always like, I don't know, like why he's surprised.
There's a sense for me with Jorah of like just constantly underestimating literally everybody around him. He thinks everybody is more of a fool than they are. He thinks that he's the smartest guy around always. And it's part of the way he treats her here, just being like, I know you want your fucking present to get something, so here, you idiot. When it's like, she's the one with all the power, dude. How do you not see that? You're coming to her for a favor. Why are you acting like she owes you the favor? That's not the setup here at all.
Yeah, his interpersonal skills are not great.
No.
And he carries with him a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment, and also a lot of entitlement. Like Jorah is incredibly entitled, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if I can really articulate exactly what I mean. I wish I could, but there's like a sense that, yeah, I did some things and I broke some laws, but it really wasn't my fault. I had this wife who needed, more and more and more and more. And then that fucking Ed Stark, his self-righteous asshole, tried to actually punish me for my crimes. The nerve of him. And so then I had to run away. You know what I mean? It's just, it's all very, yeah. Yeah. Fucking Jorah.
And it's just very much like, because he tells a story actually in this chapter about how like he was off earning money by selling his sword, but when he came back, she had not only taken a lover but gotten him deeply in debt. And they were like, look, if you let us keep her, we're good, but if you try and push the issue, that's going to be it for you. And so he has to leave her, which I'm sure just broke her heart.
He's just super salty.
Mm-hmm.
He's salty. Sir Salts a lot.
He's an incel.
Oh, he kind of is.
He's just got like a real, the world has wronged me for no reason. I'm a nice guy. How dare you?
I'm a nice guy.
You know?
Yeah, there it is.
That's just the vibe. So, so yeah, this thing with Penny, it's sort of like what moves the widow to decide to help them after all. She's like, okay, so here it is. Sir Jorah dumped the dwarf girl on the floor. I'm sorry for your brother, but we had no part in his murder. And then eventually the widow of the waterfront gave Mormont a cool look. Knights defend the weak and protect the innocent, they say. And I'm the fairest maid in all Volantis. Her laugh was full of scorn. So yeah, does not think much of the way Mormont is handling this situation.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. She is unimpressed.
So she says, you're worth a lordship back in Westeros, my little man. Here, I fear your worth is somewhat less. But I think I had best help you after all. Volantis is no safe place for dwarves, it seems.
I want to mention, too, before we go further, the widow has them take care of Penny. She, like, calls out to someone and is basically like, get her upstairs, give her a room, give her something, make her comfortable, like, go please take care of this girl, make her comfortable, get her right. Which Jorah should have seen coming. Like, if he was paying attention to his surroundings and who he was dealing with, he would have known. I feel like it would have been a good guess that, like, being rough and dismissive of someone, you know, Jorah's a big hulking knight of a man, and this is a small statured, I think, young girl, but I'm not sure about her age.
She's pretty young, yeah.
You know, so this is basically a little girl that he's handling like this. If he just had man.
You know? Yeah, like I said, it's like you said, the entitlement thing of him feeling like he's owed. There's no effort to do more, to curry favor, to consider the circumstances, or think about the impression he's making, because none of that matters to him, and he doesn't think it should matter to anybody else. They should do what he's asking because he asked it, period. And it's just wild how little he understands the position he's actually in. You don't have anything to offer anybody. Why do you think she owes you anything? You brought her a shitty gift you picked up at the 7-Eleven on your way.
True.
And you're like, now give me what I like. Who the fuck are you, dude?
That is accurate.
This just reminds me of like that meme that was like, men, what do they want? She's got to know how to cook. She's got to be fit and in shape. She's got to be submissive. What do they bring to the table? Not a thing. Not a fucking thing. Not a goddamn fucking thing. But yeah, she says, you really do want to get on out of here. So if you get to your queen, since that's clearly where you're heading, tell her we are waiting, and tell her to come soon.
Yeah. I love this. And this is when when Tyrion is, cause she leans in and she's just like, I'm going to get you a ship to, I think it's Karth, right?
And he's like, that's not where we're going.
Jorah,
right?
He's the one who's like, that's not our destination. Dude, you were about to not get any fucking thing. You're so, that's not where we're going. Oh my God.
He's so annoying.
Like she says that. Tyrion says, thank you. Jorah says that is not our destination. My God, this fucking guy. So then she's like, yeah, the ship's never going to get there, you know. And the priest is, she says the priest has seen it in his fires. They keep describing her as Vulpine too, which I was just like, oh, that's such a good description. It's so good.
Yeah, it's interesting that like the priest, what he sees in his fires is just taken as like done. There's no question for her. She's just like, no, he saw that they're not ending up there, so they're not. There's nothing about this that feels like I'm ashamed to admit that I believe or
nothing.
You know, like it's simply we all know what he says happens,
news, right? It's like
exactly.
News. And when she's telling Tyrion to give that message to Daenerys, she touches her face because it's mentioned earlier that she has a scar on her face where her slave tattoos had been cut away. When she became free, and she touches the scar when she tells him to tell her that we're waiting and tell her to come. Yeah. So he is on his way to...
I really like the fact that there's like an energy of people out there being on her side.
Me too.
Because it's just felt so like everybody is out to get her.
Like
and...
it feels like the idea that people would be waiting for her has all just been theory, and we haven't actually met people who would be waiting. We've heard from Varys and Illyrio and everybody else, oh, the people will rally behind you when they, but we haven't seen any real evidence of that. And it's really nice to hear it come from someone who, granted, is an old lady, but is in a position of power. Like, I don't know if Daenerys, you know, it's just nice. It's nice to find out that, oh no, there are people rooting for her and waiting for her to come. Yeah. And now she would just fucking move.
Exactly. That's what it keeps coming back to. Is like, well, this is all great, but like, what are you doing, Daenerys? And the answer is nothing. She's not doing anything.
Well, now we've got, to recap, we've got Jorah and Tyrion on their way to Mereen, where Daenerys actually is. We've got Aegon seemingly going west with the Golden Company. And then what's the fucking Dornish kid's name? Is it Quentin?
Quentin, yeah.
He is on his way to Mereen.
Correct.
We got a lot of people going. What we need are people leaving.
That's true.
We need people leaving Mereen.
That's true, yeah.
But
I guess I want her to leave, but like stay long enough that people can reach you and we can at least like get things on the right footing before you take off. That'd be such a bummer if she like got her ships together and took off just as they were pulling into the parking lot.
I want to ask, and I know you can't tell me, but like, is that even a thing? Like, do any of these people make it to Mereen in this book? Can you tell me that? You're not tell me that.
Why would I tell you that? That's
know.
a plot. That's like a major plot point.
No, I thought maybe you would just say it. Like if I was super casual about it, you would just like say it.
You could just like trick me into it.
Sure, why not? Why not?
Oh God, ma'am, no. Goon. That's funny though. Yeah, what? What's the big deal? I'm just asking for you to tell me a huge spoiler that's like, you know, like the end of the book, like where we're winding up.
You don't have to tell me how we get there. Just tell me, you know, what happens. I feel like that is completely reasonable.
I bet you do. I bet you do feel that way. Oh man. So I think that's it. That's how the chapter ends. I'm trying to think. There was one thing that I wanted to mention too, from the last chapter that we didn't touch on, but the fact that like the damp hair has apparently gone into hibernation or something.
Nesting. Yeah, they don't know where he is. Some people think he's dead, and other people are not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is he like immediately after the King's Moot, he was like out. And I remember like I don't think I ever got that real answer, but whatever that weirdness is between those brothers,
him and Euron,
he was just not interested in being around with his brother.
Yeah,
but Euron leaves, so I was surprised that Dampere is still like kind of missing because Euron's not on the island anymore. He's he's a sea. So I'm curious about that.
Interesting.
I mean, because where else is he going to go?
That's a good question.
He's a prophet of a god that only one group of people worship. Where else you going?
Yeah, that's a pretty narrow margin, huh? And that doesn't seem like, I mean, I guess he could be a little bit of a, what do they call it? What do they call it when you're like out here like converting people?
Like a missionary?
Yeah. I mean, you know, he might turn in that direction at some point, but it
He's
does
just
not
out there
feel
preaching
like
the gospel, just out there.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't seem like that's the kind of religion this is that you do that with.
It doesn't. Not for people who are not interested in being anywhere else but their home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, it is time for the new patrons. This time we have got Bradley Null. That is so much louder than it used to be. Right? Like, that's not just me.
You said that last time too.
I know, but it is like whatever happened last time, it's carried on. I thought that it was going to be like a one-time my sound settings, and when I record it again, it would be back to how it had been. But it's the same. And I guess this is just the new normal, so I'm going to have to get used to it. But it feels a little bit more invasive in a way that makes me understand why some folks may not have loved me using the old air horn that was extremely loud. And I apologize for that. So, you know. I love this stupid soundboard so much. But yeah, thank you so much to Bradley Null for signing up and becoming a patron. Appreciate you very much. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/unspoiled. You get early access to the episodes and they are ad free. Whereas on the old public feed, they're littered with ads because our episodes are so long. I have to put multiple ad breaks. And if you do that, it's just a great way to support me and Rashawn, because I send Rashawn a monthly stipend, I guess is the word we want, for all of her hard work. And you get access to this and the Suki Stackhouse coverage and Hunger Games as well, ad-free. And also ad-free on all of the Spoil Me coverage. So do that. Become a supporter. Make it clear how much you love and adore us, and you'll be showered with gifts.
Gifts like our
presents.
That I was going to say unending appreciation, but yes, our presents.
Our beautiful voices, our sultry, sonorous tones.
There has never been a better example of how different we are in some ways.
Our gift is our gratitude, or you're grateful, actually, for us. Thanks. That's how I make a living, is just by being like, you should really thank us with money. But yeah, I really do appreciate everybody who pledges. It's just every single time that I think about what I do, I'm just like, man, I really got it made. And I'm reaching a point where I'm like, I don't know if I can keep making it. I've got it made, but it needs to be like, updated and repaired every now and then. And
now it's unmaking.
It's sort of falling apart a little bit. So we'll see how long until I have to go back into the workforce.
Oh my God.
A 40-year-old Taco Bell employee. What can you do?
We're not going to let that happen, folks. We're not going to let that happen. So,
yeah, some things happen.
Nobody wants to see you in the workforce.
I know they don't. That's true. I would make such a bad employee at this point in my life. They'd be like, you have to be here at 9. And I'm like, not like, how firm is that? Yeah. Do you require me to also be dressed?
Yeah, right. Let's just keep. You are not about that W-2 life. You are a 1099er, do or die at this point. So, patrons, I appreciate you, because no.
I was thinking about this the other day because they're opening a Michael's near me, the craft store.
Mm-hmm.
You know it? And I'm so excited because we never have had one, and the only place to go around here was Hobby Lobby, which I don't want to support them. And they are hiring, and there was a big part of me that was like, they have benefits. What's up? What you got over there, Michaels? But I didn't look into it because I felt like once I opened the door of just like checking what they offered, I was opening the I need a job door forever, and I can't do it yet. I can't do it yet. It may happen, but for now, I just want to keep that door firmly shut, but locked, barred, and a dresser pressed up against it. You know. But anyway, so thank you all again so much. And again, patreon.com/unspoiled. You can also become a free patron just to have updates on what we're doing, links to stuff that we're doing live and all of that. And it's a really good way to stay on top of like the current events with Unspoiled without having to rely on the algorithms on social media, which are unreliable to say the least. I have like Sean, I have come very close to just straight up deleting the Unspoiled Facebook page at this point because the reach that I have on my posts is so pitiful that it's like insulting.
Yeah, I gotta start spending more time over there.
For what reason?
I don't know, because the more you interact with it, I guess the more reach you have. Isn't that how that works? I don't fucking know.
I mean, probably. And like, I know most of the posts that are made on the main Unspoiled page, those are just due to the auto posting from Spreaker, which Facebook hates links as posts. Like they do not care for those. So I can understand, but like, y'all, I have 3.8 thousand followers on my Facebook page. The last post that I made, which was the most recent Song of Ice and Fire episode, actually. Let's take a look and see just what the reach is on this. Just for giggles, just to see. Because I have a feeling it's going to be pretty sad. Wow.
38 people.
49.
I was close.
49 is my reach. 4,000 followers almost. So what's that, like 0.1%?
Girl.
You like...
Why even bother? What is
genuinely? I had thought I was going to make like all of this effort to further my social media reach, and it's just proved to be such a waste of time. There's only one way, and that is to pay for ads. And I can't even do that anymore because the way that Facebook is with my payments, they don't want to take money from me. So I can't even do that. Anyway, nobody cares. I'm so sorry. I just really had to check that for my own like confirmation that ignoring my Facebook page at this point is probably the best use of my time. Anyway, thank you guys again so much for listening. I hope you're enjoying the show, even though we do call him Stanley Baratheon. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
My God.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walter Frey, Mereen, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.